Last video on mental health with Mel, I talked about self-doubt and self-understanding. And this week I want to go into really understanding your self-destructive behaviors. So I did kind of briefly talk about self-destructive tendencies. So I wanted to dive into those in this video. So do me a favor and subscribe below. Before I go into this, I really want to make you guys aware, trigger warning for any people that have self-destructive behaviors and tendencies, eating disorders, or hurting themselves. Please, if you're not ready to hear this, click off. If not, we're gonna dive in. So, like I have before, I took out my handy dandy computer. I am Googling what self-destructive behaviors are. Self-destructive behavior is when you do something that's sure to cause self-harm, whether it's emotional or physical. Some self-destructive behavior is more obvious, such as attempting suicide, binge eating, compulsive activities like gambling, gaming, and shopping. So for me, a lot of my more self-destructive behaviors go more with definitely eating. I would say I have been a binge eater in my life. I also have like these intense impulses. Like I have to eat this. I could go to work and let's say I brought myself like a healthier breakfast, and instead of eating that, I just have like these thoughts that I cannot control, like they just won't go away, that are like, no, but really what you should go do is buy Starbucks or go Uber Eats something. Things that I don't need, that I am more than aware that I don't need, and mostly when I have food with me. So it's not like, oh, I'm hungry and like maybe I should eat healthy, but I'll just order whatever I want because either way I don't have food. No, I have food. So that one's really difficult for me. I struggle with that one a lot. The impulses for that, it's like I get those thoughts. No, like let's try and wait this out. Let's see if it just goes away. And instead of going away, it just becomes anxiety. Like you're anxious and you can't breathe, and there's like this pit in your stomach, and you don't know why. You just like, you need this, and it's like, no, I don't need this. Why are you doing this to me? And then you give in, because why am I gonna stress myself out more if I'm obviously having to fight this urge that I have inside? And it's like, well, that's not healthy either. I should just go ahead and get myself whatever it is that I want, and then I buy it. That is an impulse, and that is self-destructive, 100%. So having that impulse and these self-destructive behaviors that are like, yeah, don't worry about anything else, just go ahead and give yourself whatever you really don't need. They're bad. They're really bad. And I'm aware that I have them, but sometimes it's like they overcome everything. Like they overcome all of my restraint. That is horrible. And that is something that I definitely struggle with a lot, even right now going to therapy. I wish I had tips for you guys right now, but I would say just step one is going to be recognizing that you have these destructive tendencies or behaviors, just registering it. Then it's finding which ones they are. Like, what is actually an issue in your life? What is actually negatively affecting you? Why is it doing this? Like, what are you doing? I am still working on figuring out what the steps are to actually control this. That's going to be difficult for me. And as soon as I have actual like real steps and tools, I will let you guys know. But for right now, let's just register that we have these qualities. I have a problem with spending money as well. And for me, that's like a little bit more mild because I do realize that I have bills and I will never put myself in like too much of a pickle. I have racked up my credit cards, and every time that I like dig myself out of that hole, I just plummet right back in. And that is an issue that I have, like definitely spending money. And a lot of the time the two correlate, spending money and spending money on food. So that, and then This one's the bigger one for me. Picking up and moving, like, consistently, like just not being able to stay in one spot for probably more than a year, which is really bad. So I've lived in Texas, I've lived in Atlanta, I've lived in Tampa, I've lived in Orlando, I've like moved to Tampa twice. Like, I'll go back and forth between places. It's bad, not because you can't move, because like, why couldn't you move? That's completely fine. My issue is I am moving and going backwards. And that's a problem that I need to catch myself on more. So when I say that, what do I mean by going backwards? So going backwards for me is, well, the fact that I start a job, I love the job. I give my 120% to this job. And typically when I start a new job or I move to a new city, I would say that I am in a peak of my mania. I am super high energy. I am doing all that I can. I'm super positive, really beneficial to me actually. But those come with their downfalls. I start the job, I love it, give it my all. I'm like above and beyond, wonderful. And then plummet. I start going down to being like really sad, depressed, missing my family, wondering why I made this decision to move to another city, or why I decided to make the decision to work a 10-hour, 12-hour shift, or why I wanted to be in a job where I had to be in there every day, 5 days a week for 40 hours. Everyone around me can tell I no longer give a crap about what I am doing. That's bad, because you don't want that. You don't want other people noticing that you don't want to be there. Then you start trying to figure out how to get out of the situation. So I've done that. I will stay in a company, move to a different department, learn all the ropes and all of out of there. And then 3 months in, when I am like, I would say close to mastering it or good enough where I feel comfortable doing the job every day. I don't have the like, first day jitters or the first month jitters or whatever. Like after that, I'm like, okay, I'm bored again. So are we moving? Are we picking another job? Are we getting a promotion? What are we doing? Because I'm bored. And this is where it kicks in. I just quit. I don't need to be here. I just quit. I have enough money to pay my rent for the next 4 months. I can move back home, find a new job, find a new life, find a new everything. I don't care anymore. And that's where it gets bad, because now I don't care. Now I'm like, you can fire me. I don't care. So now it's the other end of the mania. Like now I probably already went through my super high energy. I love it here. I'm super depressed. I hate everything and I'm completely uninterested in everything that's going on. To the peak again of the mania. But at this point, I'm going on the same mindset that I was on when I was depressed, just super over being where I am and picking up on that. I'm like, I don't need to be here and I don't care because I can do anything else. I'm too good for it. That's such a bad mentality, like so bad. I am more than aware that this is horrible. It is absolutely horrible for me to be like, I don't care. Girl, what do you mean you don't care? Like, you care. What? Why would you want that? And I have done it. I did it when I lived in Texas. I moved to Tampa. And these were situations where I didn't need to leave. I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel unsafe. I didn't hate my living situation. Like, there was no reason to leave. The job was great. I was getting paid well. I worked for a major airline, so I had flight benefits. There was no reason for those situations to occur. I did not need to leave at all. I was so happy in my job for a really long time to then just like not care at all and just wreck all of my chances of growing and all of my opportunities. And I closed the chapter. I quit the job. And I came back home, and then the pandemic happened and I had a bad living situation and everything just happened, and now I'm at home again. And that's completely fine, but the problem is the destructive, self-destructive behaviors. That's the problem. I wouldn't be in the situation that I'm in right now if I didn't leave my wonderful job that I completely loved. Like that, I love the airline industry. But I just was impatient and self-destructive and just wanted to leave. In this situation, this last time, COVID happened. I quit my job a week or two before COVID was even a thing in the US. Now what? Now there is no employment options. Now people are getting fired. Now what do? Now you're broke and you have to go back home is like really the option. Like you are broke now. What are you gonna do? And that stayed that way. I did not get employed from March until August. That is such a long gap that I did not have an income. I was fortunate because I'm still in school. So in school, I've been able to use some loans to kind of cover myself. So I've covered myself. I haven't been horribly broke, but I am in debt, with my credit cards and stuff. All of it could have been avoided if I didn't have self-destructive tendencies. So why did I leave? Why? And honestly, the only answer I have for you is self-destructive tendencies. There was no reason that I had to make the decisions that I made in that moment. And I know I'm not the only one that struggles with this, and I'm sure that some of you can relate to that. Maybe you have picked up and moved to a different place just because you just weren't feeling where you lived anymore, and you left a good career or stable employment. Maybe things are too good. Those are self-destructive tendencies. So these tendencies, these behaviors are horrible. You already have to go up against the world. Like you already have to put yourself out there and deal with other people and other people's situations and deal with things that you might not want to deal with. You already have to do that. But now you're putting yourself in a situation because you are self-destructive. So now it's not other people affecting you. It's you affecting you. That's really hard to understand that I've put myself in these situations. Like, why am I making my life any harder than what it needs to be when I've already had my own obstacles and challenges that I had to go through as a person? So why are my issues getting worse because I am making them worse? Why am I doing that to myself? I don't want that. I want to be a better person that's better for me, that's giving myself more opportunities, that's doing what I want done for me and doing it to other people. I want other people to succeed, so why am I not helping myself succeed? Like, these are things that we need to understand. You need to see your behaviors and see how they're affecting your everyday life. Like, that was for me a reality check. Now I understand what I've been doing for the last 4 years. That was an eye-opening experience. Like having someone else, a therapist that I have talked to a couple of times that isn't in my everyday life, be able to catch exactly what I'm doing and tell me what it was. And I'm like, wow, that is literally what I'm doing. And yet I've been doing it for so long and haven't been able to realize that that's what's going on. And I know that there are a lot of you out there that can completely relate to that. Like, why are we making our lives harder than they need to be? What are we gonna do to stop it? Like I said in my previous videos, it is really important to catch those behaviors and find the tools that are gonna help you stop and correct them. So one of the biggest ones is, like I said, every time you have a big event or something that you aren't sure that you want to make the decision on by yourself, write it in your notebook. When you go to your next therapy session, please address it with your therapist. Make sure that they understand what is going on in your life, why you want to make this choice, what are your options. Like, go over everything with them and they will help you. If it doesn't work out, that's life. Like, if you went over it with your therapist and you guys came to the same conclusion, but it just didn't work, it's okay. Not everything in life is predictable. Not everything that we do is going to work out. But the key thing here is to remember, you are doing it to benefit yourself, not to sabotage yourself, because that's what we're doing when we're not thinking about our futures, when we're not thinking about how this is going to affect our life, our income, our love life, our personalities, like our everything. Like, you need to think about how your decisions are going to be affecting you and affecting the people around you. Like, me being self-destructive has made my parents take on financial burdens, like by helping me move places. Not always, but sometimes they did. Or putting them in a stressful situation when it comes to like financial things. Like, I lean on them. Or just honestly hurting them, seeing how I like am dealing with everything. Like they see that I'm being self-destructive. They see that it's not okay that I keep quitting jobs and not caring about my income and wasting money. They can see that, but I can't see it for what they're seeing it as. And I know that that has to be hurtful for them as well. That has to be going on in a lot of your lives. Like you might be on the other end of it too. You might be seeing a sibling or a friend or a family member being toxic and just, or self-destructive or whatever the case may be. And it might hurt you too, watching someone else do all of these things that you know they shouldn't be doing, but there's nothing for you to do. An outsider coming to you and being like, you're doing this, and that, and that's self-destructive. You might get offended and you might not understand and you might be like, no, that's not me. I don't need your advice. Like, I'm good. I didn't ask for it. But once you're ready to hear it and really ready to work on yourself and register what you've been doing, that's the moment where you're going to actually work on those behaviors and work on being a better person and work on being positive for the future and not self-destructive. But at least I'm sharing my experiences so that you guys know that you're not the only ones. I definitely struggle with all of these things as well. Whatever the case may be, if you're feeling sad or lonely or scared of yourself, whatever that may look like, please reach out. I have put some links below. Please check them out if you need any help or extra support. If you're scared or lonely, please reach out to someone. Please look for help. If you know that someone else is going through this situation, please try and get them help. This is my channel. Please leave comments. If not, my Instagram has been tagged, so you can reach out to me there. I am not a healthcare professional, but I would love to be a support system for all of you guys as well. So thanks guys for checking in with Mental Health with Mel, and I hope to see you guys like later on when I post my next video.